Hey guys, you are watching your anime world. How are you all? Please support to subscribe this channel for watching new interesting stories. So in this video, we will see second part what if Deku and Himiko witnessed Mei Hatsume's epic fight. Here is short summary. Izuku notices a crowd at school. Speaking of stabbing, so did Himiko apparently. They run over and it's a certain bubblegum-haired inventor. She's kicking ass. Himiko grabs Izuku's wrist and they make it to the front of the crowd. Should we help her? Someone is bloody, and it isn't Mei Hatsume. I say she's fine. Izuku responds. He cups his hands around his mouth. But before we start, if you want more stuff like this, then be sure to subscribe and like this video. And if possible share this video with your friends. Now let's start the story. Shota Aizawa grabs his capture scarf as he looks to his son in the living room, with a coffee cup. Kid, I know that's not water in there. It's orange juice. His son deadpans, before smiling at his own, very apparent lie. I'm sure. Stop drinking coffee at night, Shota says, putting on his capture scarf. I'm not sure what qualifies as night. Hitoshi shrugs. It's impossible to not notice how he never phrases anything as a question. Oh yeah, no coffee past 1 p.m. Shota goes outside before he can respond. Hitoshi's expression through the window is laughable. Hitoshi has progressed with a lot of things since being adopted. He wasn't open to trying therapy or really anything when he moved in. He remembers a child who wouldn't speak till spoken to, wouldn't eat unless told to instead of offers, who wouldn't even make eye contact out of turn. That's barely the tip of the iceberg. He usually only ever gave one-word answers when he got here. There is still a lot to work on. He's starting to be more open about stuff in the past. The most he was directly told before is a general outline of why he was bleeding in an alley when they had met. Shota was on a nightly patrol as he heard someone, likely drunk, shouting, "Get back here you little monster." The speech was slurred, but what concerned him was the word little. Shota immediately scales the wall by him trying to get a view on where this is taking place. In one area, is a man with a bat. It looks bloody. The red flags are rising as he tries to find who the man is chasing, only to see a small purple-haired kid. He doesn't even look like a teen yet. Now that the situation is assessed, he quickly immobilizes the adult. A hero, the man questions. There's a villain running. Go stop it. To Shota, it looks as if there's instead a grown-ass man chasing a child with a bat, so he'll decide who the villain is. Even so, there is still a kid to save. For all he knows there's more than one. Shota quickly knocks him out and handcuffs him, before calling the cops. He quickly explains the circumstances of a child on the loose, seeming to have been chased by someone. The second a nearby cop gets there he sets out to find the kid. Soon, he finds the purple-haired kid in an alleyway. He has a flip phone, a shaky hand to contact someone. Kid. The kid is bloody. He immediately notices the muzzle covering his mouth as he looks up wide-eyed. The texting, the previously dull eyes, this seems like a routine. He assesses the blood around the muzzle and seemingly broken left arm. The kid's clothes are dirty and bloody as well. He seems a bit tall and very scrawny. He also looks batshit terrified. Right, I'm an underground hero. Eraserhead. One of the hardest jobs for him is reassuring victims, but it's as necessary as all else. He quickly texts his husband to send paramedics to the attached location. The paramedics will be here. I need to deal with your arm and take off the muzzle though. The kid stares at him a few seconds before reluctantly nodding. Shota is able to prop the arm up and stop the bleeding before putting it in a makeshift splint. The kid looks extremely cautious. He's texting with the other hand. Whoever Izuku, Nito and Himiko are seem to be fans. The kid apparently recognized him. They don't seem too surprised about the almost being killed thing. What is the norm for these kids? He looks at the muzzle. That's not coming off easily. All right, kid, I can take the muzzle off but I need to cut the straps for it. I have a pocket knife. The kid takes scissors from his pocket. Shota gets the hint and uses those to cut the muzzle. Holy shit, this kid is no older than 12. Shota tosses it aside before handing back the scissors. He hears the sirens. What's your name? Shinso. He mumbles, as if he never uses his voice. Shota eventually got the rundown that they had put him in a muzzle at this foster home. It was most of the time when he was at home. Shinso explained how his foster dad thought he was reaching for a knife, so he broke his arm with the bat and tried to bash his skull in. He didn't learn much else. When Hisashi learned all he did, he was quick to suggest fostering him. The 11-year-old kid who treated that as a routine as he ran for his life. 3 years later, he's glad his kid can initiate conversations. That should be the norm. He's not even able to ask questions most of the time though. Shota's trail of thought is cut off as he hears crying. A man is holding a broken bottle over a kid's already bleeding head. This looks much too familiar. Maybe to his kid, maybe to himself. Shota immediately immobilizes him. Now there's an injured kid to deal with. Oh great, 4 people crowding him. The vigilantes. He tosses his phone to Dabi, who almost drops it. Call the cops, he demands, clearly pissed. Got it. Dabi immediately dials 110. There's a hero on the case but someone, seemingly a father, was beating his kid. Looks to be drunk. He sees the kid who dubbed himself Nexus putting ice in a piece of clothes ripped off his own sleeve and putting that against a wound. Asani and Jinx are using a bowl seemingly made of ice, filled with water to clean the kid's injuries. Where do they keep getting ice? Probably one of their quirks. He sees masks without faces, but they all look equally pissed. He knows the kids. Jinx and Asani show signs of abuse and have for the year or two he knew them. Nexus and Dabi over the past 9 months proved to not trust heroes in the slightest. They're almost as emotionally distant as Hitoshi and Asani were when he first met the two. Jinx wasn't open, but she also is a huge extrovert. Dabi though, when they met, he seemed too good at dealing with creeps at bars. If these 4 are good at anything, it's beating up assholes and hiding their trauma. Speaking of beating up assholes, Shouts knocks out the opponent who was previously screaming and handcuffs him. Get out before the cops get here. Shota demands. I'll handle the rest. The 4 whisper to each other, before Dabi takes off his mask. The others scurry away. Dabi has a lot of burns, Shota immediately notes. His face is very purple. He also looks relatively young but clearly an adult. He has turquoise eyes and a lot of facial piercings aside from the staples that seem to hold his skin together. Chuya never expected to be left to babysit, but the kid probably needs a distraction. Himiko had offered to morph into Monoma or Hatsume, but Izuku points out they've both met Shinso's dad. Chuya offered to stay and pose as a witness so Eraser could deal with the kid. In the while he's known Eraser, he hasn't been bad. He's actually considerate, though he still keeps a high guard for himself and the kids. Again, kid. Chuya goes down to his level of height, trying to refocus his attention from the scene. The kid has black hair and eyes, looks around 5, he notes. He holds the ice that was left to the wound. What's your name? Maybe try to at least refocus the scene. Until he's calm enough to ask about what happened. Zero. He mumbles. The kid sounds quiet and distraught. Well, Zero, that guy was dealt with. Wanna explain why he's acting like a madman? Chuya asks. That actually makes him laugh a bit. Madman. My brother calls him that too. Talkative. Huh. This must be new behavior for the kid. That or they're the class clown kind of guy. He got mad about all the doctor money he had to pay. It all went to them telling me I'm quirkless. Aggression over quirks. Typical. Too typical. That brat too. Dad, no, Enji. Enji yells as he lands another kick on the 9-year-old who ran out of food to vomit so now blood trips out his mouth. Frost. Always that useless Frost quirk. Not even as powerful as that woman's. You're too weak to even use your enhanced fire to its fullest potential. Chuya is a kid. He hardly knows what that means. Shoto better not be a disappointment. Until then, you better learn how to not become roasted each time you use your quirk. Chuya looks up at him. He's scheming about how he'll train his baby brother in the future. Shoto is a few months old. You aren't laying a finger on my brother. Chuya yells. Or Natsuo, or Fuyumi. It's not their fault. And Shoto is a baby, not a puppet. You can't do this. Don't talk back. He feels a sharp pain on the back of his head, That's hair has slowly been turning white. You're lucky I keep you here. One more kick is delivered. And stop dyeing your hair. You look like your pathetic mother. As far as Chuya is aware, pathetic people don't birth 4 kids. Chuya can hardly think of what to tell this kid. His situation was for having the wrong quirk. What will happen here? Your quirk or lack of won't define you. Even if you're treated differently, you can't forget that. Chuya tries to put on a smile. Then he speaks low enough so Eraser can't hear. The green-haired one, he doesn't have one either. And he's strong, makes all our huge plans. Don't tell anyone though. The kid practically has stars in his eyes. Chuya is kind of relieved that sometimes, a kid won't care if things feel safe enough. Depending on the kid. You got family? Chuya asks. I have a mom and older brother. They're visiting mom's parents. Shiro explains. And they're nice. Chuya clarifies. Mom and Hanta are the best. The kid exclaims. They'll be mad when they hear what dad did though. Well, he won't do it again. Chuya says. He hears the sirens. I have to go, but Eraserhead here is an underground hero. He'll help you. Okay. Okay. Shiro responds. Chuya brushes past Eraser on his way out. Make sure the kid can end up with his mom. And if she's not as great as said, don't leave him to CPS. Help him find a good home. Chuya has seen the kids. Izuku, Himiko, Monoma and Shinso hardly utter a word about foster. Even Himiko, who's never open about it. I know, my kid dealt with shitty homes. Eraser responds. Never knew you had one. Good luck. That was an utter lie. Himiko and Izuku have Shinso over all the time. Though he ain't telling Eraser that. Chuya walks off. Not that he has many one-on-one conversations with Shinso. He just rather not let this guy know his son hangs with degenerate vigilante children. Shinso's even started getting along with Shoto a couple months ago. Monoma too, but he thankfully doesn't know his mom. Mostly whenever Izuku, Himiko or even Shoto try to invite someone over, he steps outside the treehouse, but sometimes he's involved if they're eating their very limited food supply. Shinso, Monoma and Hatsume usually bring their own food, and sometimes some for them knowing their limited supply. Chuya roams around the streets for a while. Himiko texted that they're still out so now he's roaming around. May as well get some stuff done on his own. It takes an hour till he sees someone familiar. He is a lot more exhausted considering the last set of cops he had to run from after dealing with some other guy. Eraser stands in front of him, probably done with the whole Shiro case. How is the kid? Chuya asks, leaning against a wall. His mom and brother showed up. They seemed surprised his father acted that way. Tsukauchi dealt with them so now he's going home with his mother. Eraser explains. Where are the other 3? I was looking for them. Chuya shrugs. You seem really out of breath. Eraser points out, only for Chuya to take the mask back off. You saw the burns, I'm not exactly in prime condition. Chuya admits. You burn out your lungs or something. You don't exactly seem healthy. Eraser questions. Well, I can't exactly tell. Chuya crosses his arms. You didn't go to the hospital for that. Do you not have a civilian identity? Oh right. Unlike Himiko and Izuku, Shoto and Chuya do not have civilian identities other than the number 2 hero Endeavor's dead and missing sons. Not exactly, Chuya says, putting the mask back. So you can't finish college or anything. Chuya never even finished middle school. He wishes he had the chance to with where he is now. He shakes his head. How about the others? No offense, but they're clearly teenagers. Well, that's none of your business. The second those kids are involved, he gets defensive. Considering one of which is his youngest brother and the other 2 invited him to this weird misfit group thing, he will end up a bit protective. I'm just saying, I could expect them at UA. Eraser suggests. Before he can even consider telling him they gave up on that, the little devils show up. Ayo. Himiko greets, dragging a very confused Shoto by the arm while Izuku follows. Eraser. Can I have pointers to pass for the exam? She asks, energetically. That'd just be unfair. Eraser responds. If Chuya didn't know any better, he'd assume Himiko would be extremely petty. Who do you want to pass pointers to? Eraser inquires. Himiko and Izuku laugh and face each other in sync. It'd be unfair if we told you. Himiko mimics, a finger over her mouth as if to shush him. You brats going to tell me what you find so funny? Shota asks. Only to ya. Shoto, Himiko and Izuku seem to know. They want to pass pointers to his own son, and his son's little boyfriend or whatever they have going on. Izuku and Himiko shake their heads in sync. Go home. Eraser says, only for Himiko and Izuku to shake their heads once more. Himiko grabs Shoto's arm again and runs as Izuku yanks Tuya's arm. Oi! I can run. That concludes. Himiko Toga is extremely petty. And Izuku is her sidekick in crime as of now. Chapter text. They're discussing the UA exams which are tomorrow and Izuku knows damn well Hitoshi and Nito currently want to kill themselves over it. Even despite his very clear anxiety, Nito denies it. Mei doesn't care as she's already prepping for UA. Izuku tries to come up with ideas, ignoring the kid who, accidentally, elbowed him in the head on the way to his own lunch area. You guys are going to kick ass. It's fine. Himiko brushes off. I know I will. Nito chokes. I just might be maybe slightly concerned about the written exam. He's smiling, but he ain't having a good time. I'll help you study for the written exam, Nito. And you too Hitoshi, if you want. Izuku offers. You do have the best grades out of all of us when the teachers don't fail you. Nito mumbles, clinging on to hope. I prefer to study independently. Thanks though, Hitoshi admits. Then we can train together. Himiko offers. I actually think my father wanted to. Hitoshi points out. At least I'm slightly less ed. Nito decides. I thought you said you weren't ed. Mei peeks out from behind her computer. My grades are shit, Nito admits. Well, if he admits his concerns, this is definitely a problem. And you're worried about the physical too. Izuku adds. Nito crosses his arms. I know I'll be fine. He lies. As he speaks, the fangs that they had all assumed were genetics give an idea. Himiko, can I have a blood packet from Shoto? Izuku asks. For Nito. Himiko looks confused as to why he wants Nito to drink Shoto's blood, but hands the packet anyway. The hell you mean for Nito? Nito asks, a smile remaining yet a twitching eye. Drink it, Izuku says, handing it over. He seems to forget not everyone is on the same page. I'm not going to drink my friend's blood. He whispers shouts, in hopes those around don't hear. His brother is scary and would kill me, and Himiko has those for emergencies. Nito laughs like a madman, probably at the thought of being incinerated. Sorry, I meant you can maybe test copying quirks from far if ingesting blood. Izuku explains. That's smart, Nito admits. Can I? He asks Himiko. She nods. Clearly repulsed, he takes a sip and immediately hands it back. Himiko grabs it and puts it with presumably the others. How does Shoto blood taste? Hitoshi inquires. Wouldn't you like to know? Nito quips. Does blood actually taste good for you too? Izuku asks, already pulling out his notebook. Like I care. Oh, okay. Then he's like Himiko in that sense. He doesn't seem too pleased though. Try it, Izuku suggests. Nito makes a small fire in his left thumb. Thanks Izuku. Nito mumbles, before cackling. I'm getting into UA. Heads turn to the few who already get enough negative attention. And, someone is coming here. Great, shit, this is the guy Mei beat up. So the weak, villainous and quirkless folk are applying, Izuku immediately ducks his head. Don't get him wrong, he can fight, but it's always more trouble than it's worth. Didn't Mei kick your ass a few months ago? She doesn't fall into the weak category. Hitoshi adds. Don't even try using your quirk. He hisses, walking toward Hitoshi. He wasn't even going to. Mei slams her computer shut and stands. Que te pasa, cabron? She asks, hands on the cafeteria table. He ain't doing anything, so stop distracting me. Oh right, she's writing out her summary of the bot she's using to enroll. He is notably afraid of Mei, who opens her computer and keeps writing. Whatever, all I'm saying is you guys have no chance at getting in. You would die with no one to protect you on a battlefield. He gestures to Nito. You are going to quit and become a villain when they don't let your sorry ass in. He gestures to Hitoshi, who simply rolls his eyes. You are going to what? Drink blood and turn into someone, Dracula. Maybe into someone shorter so digging a grave will be easier. Dracula. How creative. Himiko shrugs. Your blood is unappealing anyway. Good. He starts. And you, Midoriya, you'll die in the exams. Izuku looks him up and down, forgetting his clear need to keep his head low before escalating this. He's used to this behavior, but this guy just insulted all his friends in front of him. They're all clearly pissed, even when Himiko and Nito usually laugh about it. I'll die in the exams. Izuku parrots. I'm not the goddamned child over here arguing with people he knows will get in trouble for arguing back. You only have the balls to insult people you know you'll be defended from. Would you insult Mei to her face? Clearly that got a reaction. Mei peeks from behind her computer, so he just walks away. Asshole. Hitoshi mumbles. You say asshole, I think little bitch. Himiko shrugs. Well, the little bitch went away. Nito adds. Izuku sits back down. As I was saying, you, Nito, probably have fangs for the same reason as Himiko. Not just genetics, Izuku explains. No offense, but I am not fond of the idea of biting people. Nito shrugs. What about you, Hitoshi, are you able to bring your capture weapon? Izuku asks. Yeah, I was able to submit a form for it, but I still feel utterly doomed. Hitoshi admits, running his fingers through his own hair. You do fine with the capture scarf, you'll be fine. Himiko says, dragging on the E. Plus, you're above me in close combat, yeah. Nito points out to Hitoshi, lightly elbowing him. Hitoshi slightly smiles back. It looks more genuine than snarky, so maybe Nito's weird flirting encouragement helps. How about you, Mei? Himiko asks, looking at her screen. This baby is helping me pass. She beams, going into detail on her invention. Izuku is sitting on a rail, looking at the beach that took 10 months of his own life to clean. He is really impressed with the result. Today should be the day All Might offers his quirk. Not that Izuku ever wanted it. Speak of the devil, he shows up behind him. You cleaned even outside your perimeter. He shouts, walking over. Izuku turns to face him and nods, jumping down to the beach from the rail. The beach looks beautiful. Soon, there's a phone angled for him to see. He looks at it. It's a picture of you. When you fell. Gee, thanks. Look at how much you've grown. Izuku wants to bang his head on the fridge from said photo. It is clear after 10 months of training, you have officially earned one for all. Now you may inherit my quirk, and take the UA entrance exam. What is All Might's plan here? Complete an exam using a quirk he never tested. Damn. Wait, is he plucking a hair off his head? Eat this. Now, the moment of truth. He stares at the hair in his hand. Probably some DNA thing necessary to pass the quirk down. Nah, he runs faster than he ever has. Thanks for the free training. Izuku just pranked the #1 hero in the worst way possible. He's going to hell. He feels bad, but this is the same guy who neglected his health when saving him and didn't even call the paramedics. He isn't mad about the whole you can't be a hero thing, but All Might offered a kid a quirk, essentially telling him he can only be a hero with his help. So fine, he'll accept his help and not be a hero. This is not on brand for Izuku. Usually it'd be Himiko or Tuya to do some dumb shit like this, or even Shoto. Eraser and Mike would murder him if they found out he did this. So he simply runs. Finally, he catches up to Himiko, Mei, Nito, Hitoshi and to his surprise, Tuya and Shoto who are probably there to wish them luck. Despite Himiko's smile, she looks pretty sad. Maybe she wants to be a hero. Who knows? Maybe she doesn't like the restrictions of one. Or maybe she'll miss being in the same school. Himiko watches Tuya give the world's weirdest pep talk. Alright, brats, you are getting into this school one way or another. I don't care if I have to bribe them using the old man's money. But I won't, because you have some degree of talent. Probably. Shoto elbows him. What did I say? Good luck you guys. Shoto encourages. Tuya lightly elbows him back. Never try pep talks again, Tuya. Izuku says, walking over to the others. Seriously though, you guys will do great. Kick ass, get in, and pray you don't get into Eraser's class. Like that was so great, and all Shoto said was good luck. How is that reassuring? Chuya crosses his arms. Thanks anyway then, Chuya. Hitoshi shrugs. Himiko takes this moment to hand Nito a blood pouch. You got my quirk, Shoto's and Mei's. Himiko explains. Don't drag the name of so-called degenerates, get in there. Himiko encourages. Nito takes the blood and drinks it, before hugging her. Damn right we will. Nito responds. We can be superior. Thanks. He steps back. Mei waves, going to her exam area. Can I quit right now? Hitoshi asks, only for Nito to grab his arm. We'll see you later, Nito announces, dragging Hitoshi to follow Mei. Himiko notices Chuya, Shoto and Izuku heading off. She starts to follow, lost in her own thoughts about running in that building and applying herself. And now she's falling. Great. Why is she not hitting the ground yet? Sorry for using my quirk. She looks to the source of the voice as she steadies herself. It's a girl with short brown hair. She's really pretty. Her blood smells pretty sweet to Himiko. Thanks. Himiko beams, smiling. You're trying to be a hero. Good luck in the exams. And you're super cute. She realizes the smile on her face is definitely not good for a first impression. Thank you. She doesn't even sound disgusted. Stay safe, and you have a really pretty smile. The girl walks away, leaving Himiko flabbergasted. Her smile only widens as she catches up with her friends. I have faith in the next hero course. What are we supposed to do now? Wait for them, Shoto asks. Himiko shakes her head. Izuku is using his laptop to watch the footage. Himiko explains. How the hell did you get access to that? Chuya asks. That's for later. Follow me, Himiko announces, leading them to an alley area near a McDonald's with free Wi-Fi. We can watch it here. It should start soon. Izuku pulls up the security footage, and yes, there are UA grounds. How the hell? Chuya asks, gesturing to it. Hitoshi, Nito and Mei all have parents and each other to celebrate with. Hitoshis will in fact recognize us, so this is how we'll know how they did. Izuku beams. Why are there robots on screen? Why are you not applying anyway? Chuya asks. You can kick seemingly robot ass. We all know it. Entrance exams to UA are usually shitty for those without flashy quirks. Izuku explains. Plus, being a hero has way more bounds. Himiko notes how he left Shoto out of it. That might have been on purpose so she won't mention it. Being a vigilante is working, right? Himiko adds. Yeah, but you have a brother trying to attend. And 2 friends. They'll be a lot more busy. Chuya inquires. Himiko scowls at the thought. They'll cover for us. It's fine. UA isn't residential anyway. Himiko shrugs. That hug looked like it was goodbye is all I'm saying. Chuya explains. Himiko glares at him. I'm not saying bye to my friends, they're just doing something new. Chuya holds his arms up as if in surrender. Hey, I ain't judging you. And they aren't leaving you, but it wouldn't hurt to admit you're worried. Himiko tries taking a breath and looking at the screen with comatose robots. Chuya is just looking out for her, but the truth hurts. Computer time. Hello UA candidates. Thanks for listening to the school DJ. Nito watches as Hitoshi's dad makes his speech. He can't help but notice the difference between his costume and civilian outfit from when he's over, hanging out with Hitoshi. Can I get a yeah? Hitoshi quietly does so, pumping up a fist. No one else does, but thankfully for Hitoshi who probably would have died of embarrassment otherwise, no one had even heard him. That also means his dad didn't, as Yamada looks slightly disappointed. Hitoshi mouths a sorry. Not in the mood, huh? Anyway, as you listeners have heard, the mock battles are 10 minutes long. The second I drop the mic, you will be headed to the setting of the letter on your card. Yamada explains. Nito and Hitoshi look at their own cards. They're separating us based on school so we don't work with our friends. Hitoshi points out. Shame I can't use your quirk, though Izuku was right about robots, so it may not be useful. We both have plans though. Nito explains. Yeah, surely. You have ice and fire, I have a scarf. Hitoshi deadpans. Yamada continues his presentation. There is a point system based on the robots you will be fighting. One gives 1 point, one gives 2 and the final has 3. It's based on the difficulty of what you'll be facing. You better be careful with what robots you face, because you'll be shredding robots for points like a guitar solo, ya dig. Yamada has visuals to his presentation as he speaks. And attacking fellow candidates is against the rules. Excuse me, but I have a question. A relatively tall boy, standing up, announces from a few rows ahead. He has blue hair. Nito uses Mei's zoom and sees the glasses. He looks like a Some student. Okay, the paper. It displays 4 targets, yet you only listed 3. If this is an error on an official UA paper, it is certainly shameful. We expect the best from Japan's most prestigious school. This guy stands so stiff he may as well be a mannequin with a voice box. Additionally, you too. He immediately disables Mei's quirk, seeing the eye looking at him and Hitoshi. You two are clearly not taking this seriously. For discussing their plan while the presentation took a pause. And is that a scarf? It's not even cold and that certainly breaks the dress code of the school you're representing. It's unacceptable. Nito looks at Hitoshi, who looks embarrassed as he tries to make himself less seen in front of all the eyes watching them. Seriously, petty arguments in front of thousands of people. Lucky for Nito, he doesn't care about all eyes on him. Clearly he and I are superior over the one who couldn't wait a minute longer for the presentation to be over. Additionally, Nito parrots, you are being close-minded of what the scarf is even for, so thanks for drawing attention. His parents either give him too much or not enough. So get that stick out your ass before I ply it out myself and hit you over the head with it. He hears a couple of kids laugh, and is that the dude Izuku showed childhood photos of laughing. Oh my god, that's Katsuki Bakugo. We don't need that visual. Hitoshi says, pulling his arm to sit down. He can see Yamada stifle laughter. If it were Aizawa though, he would be dead. Aizawa would not give 2 shits that he is one of his own son's best friends. Alright, settle down, Yamada orders. Examinee 7111. Thanks for calling with a request. The last one is worth 0 points. Just think of it as an obstacle to avoid. While it could be defeated, there's no point. You'll see one in every battlefield. Right, thank you, sir. Some kid bows, before sitting back down. Yamada finishes his presentation, and soon they're set off to their appointed battlefields. Good luck, he says, fist bumping Hitoshi. Kick robot ass, I guess. Hitoshi responds, returning the gesture. They head to their own areas. Great, Nito is with Katsuki ing Bakugo. Nito wonders what would happen if he had Izuku blood then just turned into him using Himiko's quirk. That would be god-awful. Not that he can use Himiko's quirk much. Maybe if he needs to be shorter to evade an attack, because since he did drink her blood he could easily use her quirk to turn into her, but he wants to as little as possible with the side effect of being naked. That or he'd just have to stay as her until he can wear his uniform again. They look similar enough. Not that they're identical twins though. Soon he hears Yamada on the loudspeaker. Go. Nito is immediately running. Why is no one else? There are no countdowns in battles. Now they are, at least. Nito immediately burns the first few robots he sees to crisps. He wishes he had Tuya's fire as of now, with it being stronger, but he would have to copy the lesser immunity and end up burning himself. The fire quirk makes the most sense to use right now, since it's common enough to brush off. He gets a few, including 2 1-pointers and a 3-pointer that target him all at once. He's losing track of the points he gains. Shoto's quirk is hella useful, especially with Mei's so he can see the robots and track them down more easily. He sees a lanky black-haired dude with mutated elbows almost get hit by debris. He immediately tackles him out the way, freezing ice over his head. Thanks. Sorry about that. I accidentally tossed one into the building. He explains, as Nito gets up and helps him up. Tape quirk. How useful. Yeah, no problem. Trust me, you've already repaid the favor. Nito announces, flashing a smile as he runs his own way. The tape is hella useful for starters. He notices the red eyes of Bakugo staring at himself as he uses the ice. 1. Hitoshi has been doing pretty well for himself for once. He risked opportunities of getting robots whenever he saw someone about to get hit, but he ended up getting those and saving others. 2 for 1 at least. It's all fun and games till a giant robot shows up. The 0-pointer. Hitoshi is going to have a very long talk with his dad. What the is that? Hitoshi is already running like hell upon noticing it, but he hears someone yell, sounding in pain. He turns his head. A girl with purple hair is trying to weaponize the cable-looking objects coming from her ears to break the rubble. She doesn't have time. Shit. Hitoshi also can't get to her in time. Now all that's left is to stall the robot. Great. That talk will be hours long. Hitoshi uses his scarf to scale the building as he has to repeatedly circle the area and finally, is able to wrap one end of the scarf around the robot and the other around an undamaged building. It seems fortified enough to manage the robot for at least a little. She takes this moment to deal with the rubble and try walking away, despite the limp as she looks back at it. Hitoshi is struggling to hold on to both sides of the rope. Shota watches as his son risks his own life holding onto one end of the scarf that's hanging off the building as he deliberately waits out the timer in hopes of the participant Kyoka Jiro getting away with her injured ankle. He's never been more proud. That doesn't mean it isn't dangerous though. The only thing stopping him from disabling the robot and running to catch him is his knowledge of the precautions set. Time is up. He hears his dad announce on the speaker as the robot gets disabled. He sighs in relief, unwrapping the scarf and wrapping it around a power light, swinging over there and slowly lowering himself upside down. The girl is standing in front of him, on one leg. "Thanks, Spider-Man, and good luck getting in," she says. "The name is Jiro, I owe you one." "Shinso," he mumbles, standing up straight. "Good luck to you too. Sit down though, they'll probably send Recovery Girl after injured participants. Unless you want help walking closer to the entrance," he asks, readjusting his scarf. "If you will," Jiro responds. Hitoshi steps by her as she wraps an arm around his shoulders, essentially using him as a human cane. This is pretty impractical with the height difference, but it's working for now. "How do you even end up under rubble?" he asks, as they walk toward the entrance. "I got caught in collateral damage," she explains as they walk. Recovery Girl seems to notice the two, as they meet each other. "Set her down, Shinso," she orders, so he easily does so, as Recovery Girl meets her level. "Are you injured anywhere else?" she asks. "No, ma'am," Jiro responds. Recovery Girl uses her quirk, leaving her a bit disgruntled. "So do you memorize every examinee's name?" she asks, standing up. "Oh right, she referred to him by name. No, he came to me with a broken arm before. Yeah, like 3 or 4 years ago. And then she became a consistent doctor. Have these," Recovery Girl says, handing Jiro a handful of gummies. Then she gestures to Hitoshi, who receives the same handful. "Good work out there." Recovery Girl leaves after giving the weird energy gummies to tend to others. "I'm going to pray to God that means we probably passed. I got a fair amount of robots, but I don't think I focused well enough on the average." Jiro explains. "I'm going to assume those earbuds are your quirk. You broke the rocks with it. Even if that took a while, there was still a lot." "Seems impressive," Hitoshi comments, in hopes that she'll explain her quirk. "Are you asking about it or are you explaining it to me?" Jiro crosses her arms. "Asking," Hitoshi responds. "You talk weird, but thanks. It's called earphone jack. It gives me enhanced hearing and I can produce sound waves," she explains. "Huh, that's really useful," Hitoshi comments. "Again, thanks. What about yours? You didn't seem to use one with your whole move. Or is it just enhanced judgment?" Jiro asks. "Oh, it's not useful for robots." He's starting to notice a pattern of him hiding behind a scarf. She raises an eyebrow. He sighs, deciding that if they end up in the same class, she'll know eventually. "It's called brainwashing. If someone responds to me then I can basically make them be like a puppet. They'll just do whatever I say. I can't make them talk though. And it gives me migraines." He's not going to explain its weakness, because again, they might end up in the same class. Huh, that's pretty sick. Does she mean that in a bad or good way? It's useful unless you're figured out. You seem to have a backup for yourself. She smiles, gesturing toward the scarf. Yeah, I do, he responds. Thanks. Maybe being in the same class. Please, for Christ's sake, put them in the same class. And Nito. Anyway, I gotta find my folks. They wanted to either celebrate a job well done, or help me cope with my failures. She jokes, waving and walking away. See ya, he waves back, walking away to find Nito. Mei's should still be going on since they have individual presentations. My baby, though, can read quirks or the lack of. You, in the middle. Your quirk is relevant to your job. Mei explains with gusto. You can detect the flaws and benefits to any device you see, however only one at a time. I know, because this baby here can scan any mutations that just anyone won't have, and give a rundown of how those factors tie into a quirk. She awaits the response of the judges ahead of her. She's confident enough to not falter, so hopefully they recognize her genuine talent. That or she calls BS. Is that what's called a standing ovation? Wonderful, Hatsume. You will hear back in a week. Have an excellent day, the judge in the middle says. She sloppily bows, and makes her way out with her baby. She immediately goes to look for Nito and Hitoshi. I got a standing ovation. She beams, walking closer as she finds them. Y'all look tired. That's great, Mei. Hitoshi holds a thumbs up. Give me like 5 minutes to work up enthusiasm. But seriously, great job. Well, we know who's getting an acceptance letter. Nito announces, side-hugging her. Damn straight. How were your exams anyway? She asks, only for someone else to walk in. Whatever, she'll ask again later. Oh, it's Aizawa. Hello Hatsume, Monoma, he greets, walking to Hitoshi. Hey, we have to stay behind a bit. Do you want to wait here or go home yourself? Actually, before my parents come, I wanted to get ice cream or something with both of them. Mei cuts in, smiling. Aizawa seems to consider it. I'll let Hizashi know, he decides, Hitoshi smiling. And great job, kid. He ruffles Hitoshi's hair and walks away. Hitoshi simply eats the handful of gummies he had, looking slightly more energetic. All right, you coming Nito? I'll let my mom know. Nito decides. The three link arms like children and head to the nearby ice cream shop. They all order their ice cream. Mei gets chocolate, Nito gets strawberry and Hitoshi gets vanilla. Are we some kind of Neapolitan trio? Hitoshi jokes. Nito clears his throat as they get their ice cream and sit. We tried, we truly did. I believe we all did great. Nito announces. Believe, we all did awesome. Mei pokes him with her free hand. Okay. We all did great, he continues. And we will, in 1 week, get our acceptance letters. So cheers for being in the same school. Nito raises his ice cream. And to not dying, Hitoshi concludes. They all start to eat. Hitoshi watches Mei leave due to her parents wanting to see her after she hung out with them for a bit. Hitoshi takes the last bite of his ice cream and soon, he and Nito are out. And then it rains. February. Hitoshi deadpans, kicking a small puddle. It can't be that bad. Nito shrugs. Though your hair is getting wet. Maybe your fake blonde hair will turn green then. Hitoshi jokes. It's not fake, and you know it. Hell, we met when we were 7 and you know my twin sister. Nito rolls his eyes, but clearly forms an idea. He does some whole princely bow. What the air you doing? Hitoshi asks. Nito holds a hand out. May I have this dance? He asks. Why did you have to make it the most dramatic thing ever? Hitoshi asks. Is that a no? Nito inquires. I couldn't dance for the life of me. Hitoshi responds. Nito eventually grabs his hand and twirls him. Well, guess they're dancing then. In the rain. No romantic implications Hitoshi can detect at all. Who cares? Mei looks at her computer screen in front of her with all her friends on video as she stares at the note in her hand impatiently. Mei, Nito and Hitoshi wanted to open the letters on call together. Even Shoto and Tuya are with Izuku as they watch the results on Izuku's computer. She knows she got in, but she really wants to see the letter, or maybe projection, telling her she got in. Now is Hitoshi's turn though. I don't want to open it. Hitoshi deadpans. Practically everyone facepalms. Kid, you did great. Your old man told you that you did great. You'll get in, but you need to know you're on the roster first. Chuya encourages. If UA accepted Endeavor, their low standards say you'll get in. Shoto shrugs. Hitoshi sighs, before ripping open his letter. A projection with All Might's face is on screen. Why on God's green earth is All Might there? Mei asks, seemingly way more focused than before. Blob seems to agree, saying so in Morse code. Young Hitoshi Shinso, when you took your exam last week, you passed the written test fabulously. However, when it came to the practical, you stopped your high streak to save a comrade in need. The All Might projection announces. Luckily, we had a secret point system in place. Rescue points. You earned 60 for your act of bravery, because that's the highest amount our judge team had to offer. In total, you earned 84 points, gaining the second highest score. UA gladly welcomes you to its hero course. Hitoshi stares at the projection in shock. Even on call, Mei can tell this is groundbreaking for him. Second place. Hitoshi mumbles. I don't even have an offensive quirk. He realizes. And I got second in place. Doesn't take an offensive quirk to kick robot ass then, huh, Toshi? Nito asks. It does. Hitoshi cheers, smiling. He runs out his room, presumably to talk to his dads who likely already know his results. 2 more of those messages from All Might then, huh? Himiko teases. Who's going next? I cannot open that letter for the life of me. Nito laughs. I'll go next when he's back. Mei offers. Soon. Hitoshi comes back into frame. He looks happier than ever. Unless you count the adoption, this is the happiest Mei has seen him. No snarkiness at all. Mei opens hers, receiving a similar projection. However, this one is from Power Loader, announcing she got the top score. She stares at the projection, cackling as her hands involuntarily flap. How are you already at the top of your class? Chuya sputters, peering over Shoto's shoulder as he tries to fathom the high score that displayed. Hard-ing work, my friend. Oh, maybe I can find a safer way for you to use fire, or come up with more non-lethal attacks, or maybe even make something to give quirk ideas. Mei rambles on for a few minutes about the things she can legally do the second she's enrolled. Are you going to tell your parents? Shoto asks, amused. I will, but Nito still has to go. Mei shrugs. Right. Nito's confident demeanor slips the second his name is mentioned. For all that masked anxiety though, the score announced by the All Might projection is in the hundreds. I got 112 points. Nito mumbles. Well, look who comes out on top. All of them. Mei is just going to assume them as referring to the bigoted assholes everyone in this call had to face. Besides maybe Shoto and Tuya, but they faced the sense of, too strong. Speaking of Tuya, he flaunts a credit card on camera. How about Endeavor covers a celebration? He suggests. I can't today. Mei pouts. My parents want to celebrate. They all have families. Izuku cuts in. Maybe another day. Does Saturday work? Himiko suggests. They all seem to agree. All right then. Great job you guys. You did amazing. I'll make sure to tell Eraser his son did great. Izuku congratulates. Tell Eraser you've been hanging out with his son for years. He and my dad would not react too well. Hitoshi raises an eyebrow. Whatever. Would be funny as hell. Izuku jokes, messing with his curls that grew a lot over the months. You'd fear him too much. Tuya argues. Himiko hangs up the call with a smile as Tuya and Izuku start to fight in the background. Mei would be running over to kick Burnt, and if she didn't already know, it won't escalate into a genuine fight. Mei looks at her phone after everyone hangs up. Evie. Meet us on Dagoba Beach. Himiko is amazed by how much less of a dump this place looks like. It actually smells like a beach. She comments, as everyone meets up in the same area. Who the cleaned this dump? Izuku shrugs. You know my free gym membership. Himiko nods in response. This was it. Everyone including herself stares at Izuku in disbelief. You're kidding. Mei shouts. How the hell did you clean this all? You got that membership 10 months ago. Hitoshi sputters. So that's what happening to your noodle arms. Nito jokes, lifting one of Izuku's arms, the sleeve falling. To be fair, he is a lot more ripped. I'm pretty sure I slept in this dump a few times. Chuya adds. Was it really that bad? Shoto asks. Yes. Himiko shouts. Some of our furniture is from when this place was a dump. It was perfectly good furniture, okay. Izuku says, defending himself from the potential embarrassment of having to have gotten furniture from a beach. People aren't grateful, so they dump a bunch of stuff illegally. It's annoying as hell, Chuya comments. I didn't know you cared so much about the ecosystem. Nito teases. Oh off. It's human decency. Chuya makes a fire in his palm. You have that, Hitoshi adds. What have I done to imply I don't? Chuya rebuttals. The clear sarcasm, threats to burn us alive when we all know damn well you won't, being objectively inferior. Nito lists, counting off his fingers. Your little friend over there is the most sarcastic motherer I know alongside Izuku after being sleep deprived. Thanks, I get it from my father. Hitoshi smiles, snarkily. See, Chuya gestures to him. Don't be a brat, we all know he's sarcastic. But he's not arguing with 15 and 14-year-olds. Himiko teases. I'm the youngest and I'm 15. Shoto points out. Doesn't make Chuya look any better. Izuku shrugs, opening a monster can. Those can't be good for you. Chuya comments as Izuku hands one to Hitoshi, and snatches the last Himiko was reaching for. No caffeine, I like my head on my neck. Izuku says. And neither is living in a treehouse. Izuku retorts. Whatever. You guys figured where you want to eat. Our budget is maxing out this motherer. Chuya raises the credit card. I'm less worried about Endeavor's cash and more so how many people will be out celebrating being accepted into schools. Hitoshi comments. Most entrance exams are in January though. Nito points out. Just to be safe we can get snacks from a convenience store and regroup here. Himiko suggests. It is pretty quiet here. Hitoshi adds. Slightly better instant ramen party. Izuku beams. And how would we heat the water? Mei asks. Izuku points to the Todoroki brothers. Hell no. Chuya shakes his head. I am not a stove, and neither is my brother. I don't mind. Let's go. Shoto doesn't seem to care about the idea of being an appliance. The group eventually makes it to the convenience store. Himiko was tasked with getting an instant ramen package for everyone. As she reads the packaging for buldak ramen, a loud conversation that was previously tuned out catches her attention. What about her? Some teen who looks to be in his senior year asks his friend of around the same age. It's impossible to ignore the finger pointed toward herself. Her, she's cute but that smile is a deal breaker. She's a freak. The other responds. She has no shot with anyone. Well, if the freak is some teenager reading ramen packages to accommodate some of her friend's spice tolerance due to the fact one of them has a shitty one instead of the dude who's barely even a teenager, soon to be an adult looking at younger girls in the store, what the world is she living in? The others seem to laugh at his observation. She clenches her free fist. She wants to go over and give them shit for being assholes, but what'll that do? Humor them. As if. Though the cops would be great. They always turn a blind eye though. She gets a few ramen cups as she goes over to Mei to make sure she's getting an adequate amount of water. She's honestly way happier where she is. She may be broke, and homeless, and unhealthy, but to be fair, foster care doesn't have the greatest conditions either. At least now she can just be Himiko rather than whatever narcissistic assholes think she should be. No one can dictate that. Himiko drank the blood of an already dead bird, so how is it any better that she's now bleeding? She doesn't know what she did wrong. The bruises will not teach her that. Aren't parents supposed to teach? Her classmates' parents don't do this. She listens to the insults as she stares at her bloody palms. It's pretty to her. Why on earth do you smile like that? Knock it off. It's like you've been possessed by the devil. Her mom yells. Why can't you just be normal? Even your brother isn't stupid enough to drink animal blood. Is that saying her brother is stupid? That's mean. Himiko mumbles, only to feel pain near her eye. Her parents leave the room. She can hear them planning on getting rid of her. She licks the blood off her hands as she hears the familiar voice of her twin arguing in her defense. Himiko is back on the beach with her friends as Shoto and the ever-so-reluctant Chuya heat the water in the foam cups by holding the cups. Nito taps Shoto on the head and grabs another, helping with the process. "I hate all of you," Chuya complains. "Love you too." Himiko laughs, setting up the snack area. They're all on towels Nito brought with him. Instant ramen on the beach feels so wrong. Izuku mutters, listing the reasons ever so quietly. "It's cold. Chill," Hitoshi reassures, a hand on his shoulder. "Why is it boiling?" Shoto asks. Izuku immediately snatches it. "You overheated it. It's all right," Izuku explains. "You don't cook much, do you?" Izuku asks. "Don't test that in theory. It's how we figured out his ice side." Chuya yells. "It didn't burn that bad." Shoto pouts. "It's fine. You have Miko to share that in common with." Nito jokes. "Hey, I'm not that bad at cooking. You and Chuya are just good." Himiko argues. "Don't lump us in the same category." Nito starts. "I'm better. As if. I have experience cooking for 3 younger siblings." Chuya slightly enhances the fire. Izuku snatches that one too. Now, only Nito's cup is left. He'll probably eat that one. Izuku offers this one to Shoto. Later, all the snacks are done and the sky is dark. They stare at the moon as they discuss amongst themselves. "I definitely want a brand as an inventor, but what kind of hero do you guys want to be?" Mei asks, suddenly. "Probably Spotlight." Hitoshi shrugs. "Really?" Nito asks, surprised. "You don't even like fame." "Yeah, I don't. But I want to stick it to those assholes who called me a villain in the making. Make it clear that villains like me are capable." Hitoshi explains. "But what's your brand looking like, Mei?" Probably working with flaws rather than changing them entirely." "Make it work," Mei responds, honest to her word. "That's noble. I guess I just want to fix people's worst days." Saving lives can be done by means other than being a hero, but heroism can be pretty inspiring to those with shitty quirks. Nito talks of his own goals, clearly with truth. "Sappy diva then," Hitoshi teases, lightly elbowing him. Nito rolls his eyes but smiles regardless. "What about you, Shoto?" "Me, I'm not going to UA." Shoto questions. "If you were though, you wanted to be a hero, right?" Hitoshi corrects. "I guess. Obviously I can't. I ran away maybe even a year ago but Endeavor's eyes are all over." Shoto explains. "They're actually looking for a body." Mei pipes in. "Oh," Shoto mumbles. "It's fine. I get to see Fuyumi, Natsuo and Mom sometimes. But hero, I don't care about my image. Limelight or underground, I don't want people dealing with the shit I did." "You still make an active effort to prevent that." Izuku chimes in. "I think you're doing pretty great as you are." "Thank you." Shoto lightly smiles. "You are too, but as a hero, what would you do?" "And Himiko?" "Same thing as usual." Himiko shrugs. "Shitty things happen to the best of us. It makes us hilarious, but I guess it's not always worth it." "Yeah, I don't know about a public image though. The way Hitoshi wants to do things is admirable, but I don't think I could be too inspiring as a limelight hero." "Mostly a joke." Izuku looks at the waves. "A joke? You kidding?" Chuya asks. "I just saw you bite a fingernail off someone. You're no joke, brat." Izuku looks back at him, slightly amazed yet shocked. "How about you then, Chuya? You ever wanted to be a hero?" "I guess. When I was 13 and didn't know my quirk could hurt me this bad." Chuya looks at his own burns. "I don't really care though. Hero stuff. It's honestly bullshit. The whole system is. I at least have faith in you guys since you actually seen the awful shit that happens because of it. And experienced it." "Ah, how sweet." Nito jokes, seeing a middle finger pointed in his direction. Joking. "Thanks, Chuya." The group continues their discussion about heroes as they look at the night sky. Hitoshi walks alongside Mei and Nito as they head toward Ua. Their first day. Shit. This will go awful. Even worse, Hitoshi got into 1A. His father teaches 1A. At least he'll have Nito, but it took long enough to call him father. Now he's Mr. Aizawa. That's weird. Speaking of, his parents were just going to drive with him, but he wanted to meet up with Nito and Mei as they walked. Now, he's being absorbed by his own anxieties of school. It's not the curriculum being advanced or even the teacher that's worrying him. It's the students, and the idea of falling behind. But mostly the students. These are the best of the best. No argument needed, but that likely means they have crazy powerful quirks. Yet Nito and Mei don't even mention it. Hitoshi sighs, remaining silent, until he notices Mei tug on her uniform collar. Something wrong? He asks, a bit concerned. It's way too annoying. Mei complains, unbuttoning the top one. Why do uniforms have to be so strict anyway? I think it's more of a school reputation than anything, but I see your point. Hitoshi nods. They do need something to represent though. Well, that something is hella annoying. She grumbles. You'll be able to take it off most of the time at school though since your clothes get dirty, right? Hitoshi asks, for once not being wary of his own question. Yeah, the uniform policy says I can wear spare clothes in the support lab at least. Mei shrugs, crossing her arms. Hey, at least they look great. Nito chimes in, looking at his own uniform. All right, princess. Hitoshi deadpans without even thinking. Doesn't take being a princess to have an actual good sense in fashion. Nito retorts, raising an eyebrow. Most of the time you look as if some grumpy, emo, animated humanoid cat chose your clothes for you. Would that happen to be Chuya? Mei mumbles, under her breath. Shut up, we don't look the same or act the same at all. Seriously, he has 3 siblings you can compare him to. Hitoshi counters, faking offense. Yeah, I guess comparing him to you is rude to him. Nito jokes. Hitoshi rolls his eyes, but realizes he got sidetracked. Right, his concerns of everyone being assholes, great. Hey, all jokes aside. Hitoshi starts, but lost in the words he doesn't know how to expand. 2 sets of eyes are at least in his direction as he speaks. They'll probably have strong quirks. More to borrow then, Nito announces with clearly fake enthusiasm. You know what I mean, Nito. They won't just be strong, they'll look down on us. Hitoshi reiterates, clenching his fists. His 2 friends fall silent along the thought they all so clearly were avoiding. They can be assholes, Nito starts, but we're better than that, yeah. We all got in with the same exam. Well, most of us did. So it doesn't concern us what they think. Plus, he lightly elbows Hitoshi. We're in the same class, right? Yeah, Hitoshi slightly smiles. Plus, I know how to deal with assholes. Let me know if you see any. Hell, your parents work there. Ain't nobody out there with you that's going to get away with it. Mei adds. I'm not a snitch. Hitoshi replies. You don't have to be. This is UA. Eyes are everywhere. Mei responds. I can't tell if that's supposed to be reassuring. I don't like eyes everywhere. Hitoshi jokes, amused as he sees UA. It is. Mei beams, walking a bit faster toward the building. Thanks, Mei. Hitoshi responds, following her quick pace as they all head to the building in sight. UA is huge. They go through the entrance and see a lot of first years looking for their classes. Better early than late, Nito mumbles, leading them to the direction of their class, but on the way, Hitoshi recognizes a certain purple-haired girl. And she recognizes him. Shinso. Jiro calls out, walking over to the group. Mei and Nito look confused. Probably because any friend he has, they know. Hey, Jiro, you got in, he mumbles. Really now, she says, sarcastically. I did though. 1A. Congrats by the way. What class are you in? 1A2, he announces. Well, an ally. That's something positive, probably. Is this the girl you mentioned? Nito asks, following behind Hitoshi. Yeah, Hitoshi answers. Mei clears her throat. Well, this is fun, but I'm finding my class. See ya. She waves, heading off her own way. Bye Mei. Hitoshi waves back, refocusing on his conversation right after. Is she in 1B? Jiro asks, deciding to walk to navigate 1A. Nito and Hitoshi follow. No, she's in 1H. The support course. Hitoshi explains, looking around the hallway. The school is pretty clean. You're in 1A2 then? Jiro asks, facing Nito. He nods, doing a theatrical ass curtsy. He's come to enjoy his theatrics over the years though. I'm Nito Monoma, and you're Jiro, he clarifies, keeping up the pace. Yeah, aren't you the one who got the top score? Jiro asks. Oh right, Nito's name is on the leaderboard she's referring to. Oh right, my name is out there. Nito recalls. He laughs in a boastful way. That's a killer debut, Jiro compliments. They eventually see the classroom and look at the door. If I see anyone taller than 6 foot, I'm going to jump off something. She gawks, looking at the massive door. They walk in. Oh, great, a crazy tall dude. Kyoka makes a move for the window, dramatically sighing. Oh, her and Nito will get along great. He looks at the students. The really tall one has an apparent mutant quirk. He's not talking to anyone, just standing there. There's a yellow-haired kid with a lightning bolt in his hair. Jiro perks up upon seeing him. That's Kaminari. I knew him before coming here. She explains. The students so far seem pretty social. Minus Jiro, who doesn't seem the most extroverted, and the tall guy. God, his father will crush them. Luckily the bell rings in a couple of minutes. Something that catches his eye is the guy who insulted him on the exam day. And he's scolding a guy with his feet propped up on his desk. Shit, that's Katsuki Bakugo. It's a good thing Izuku didn't enroll in UA. Some, huh, you're from that private school then. Think you're so much better, huh? Bakugo hisses. Honestly, a lot of private school kids do. Maybe Bakugo had a shitty middle school. Either way, he'll ignore him. Stay the hell out of my way, Four Eyes. Unless you want to see hell. You dare threaten me, your own classmate. Four Eyes responds. Oh my god, you are whiny. Did your private school put that stick up your ass, or were you born with it? Bakugo stands up, cracking mini explosions in his palms. Four Eyes seems to give up, then notices himself and Nito, both of which by Hitoshi's desk. Great, he's walking over. What he didn't expect was him to stiffly bow apologetically in front of the two. I apologize for my behavior in the exam. I was close-minded to the strategic mindset of the top 2 scorers in the exam. Close-minded. You insulted him and his dad. I would be grateful if you told me about the scarf you were wearing. Perhaps I should have asked before criticizing how it fails to apply with the uniform. Hitoshi puts a hand on his capture scarf. This guy was close-minded, but thinking about it further he just follows a lot of rules in life. He probably doesn't like interference with said rules. That makes a good amount of sense. He was still rude, but at least now he feels less like a 2-bit bully. It's a capture weapon. I need the scarf to accommodate how my quirk isn't used for offense. Hitoshi explains. Nito seems confused by how quickly he changed his mind. He seems to catch on though, still wary. That's highly practical of you. Your second ranking in the exam if I recall, Hitoshi Shinso right. And you're Nito Monoma. I'm Tenya Iida. Can it? Four Eyes. Bakugo yells, walking over. Great. Fun. He's surely in a great mood. Shit. Hitoshi hears a noise. He immediately sits down in silence. His father is doing his whole rational time test. He gestures for Nito to head to his own seat, who quickly gets the hint. Bakugo follows his gaze. Your first place huh? And second, what are your quirks? Hitoshi looks him in the eye, remembering that Bakugo had gotten third place. I'll keep that to myself until I need to tell you. Nito responds, not missing a beat. They focus on the front as the rest of the class notices his father emerging from a sleeping bag. You're all loud. He starts, now stood up. Everyone seems to pay attention now. It took you a few seconds too long to pay attention. If you want to be a hero, you have to know the value of time. Go wear your gym uniforms and head outside. At least an introduction. As if one cue, his father continues speaking. I'll be your homeroom teacher, Mr. Aizawa. No one seems to recognize him as the hero Eraserhead once he walks out, simply questioning what just happened. Lame. No taste in good heroes these days. Hitoshi starts to head out to the locker rooms while people are still questioning. Isn't it a bit suspicious they have the same capture weapon? Oops. Nito follows close behind. Hitoshi, your dad is scary. He whispers. Say it louder for the people in the back. Hitoshi whispers back, faking enthusiasm. I'm serious, especially in comparison to Yamada. He used to glare a bunch when I first came over. Nito pouts. You did the same, both out of concern for my safety. Hitoshi contradicts. They're the first to make it to the locker room. Hardly anyone seems to know each other, so thankfully it's pretty quiet. Hey, you're the top 2 scorers. He sees the yellow-haired guy looking at him. Jiro called him Kaminari. How the hell did they already drag attention? Social anxiety has spoken, and the window Jiro was going to jump out of is now for Hitoshi to do the same. Oh yeah, you two got a ton of rescue points, that's pretty manly. A red-haired guy adds. The masculinity seems positive. At least. Thank you. Nito responds, putting the uniform down as he's done changing. We were in the same field, I believe. You have a hardening quirk. Oh yeah, it's nothing much. He shrugs. That's good on both offense and defense, I'd say it's pretty cool. Nito says, I have a friend who'd fawn over it. Izuku. No doubt about it. Bakugo gives off a hint of surprise, but immediately ignores it. Soon, they're all out toward the field. Hey Nito. They seem pretty positive. Loud. Hitoshi points out. In a good or bad way? Nito asks. Fine by me. Though with my father, they better not be distracted in that sense. Hitoshi explains. They're soon on the field. There's a few things set up, but his father is holding a baseball near a circle in white. Everyone's here. Good. His father says. All those tests you did in middle school were done without quirks, but I need to assess them. We'll start off the first day doing a series of tests. You can use quirks, just follow the basic rules. But we're going to miss orientation. A brunette points out. He remembers that this is the girl himself and Nito saw stopping Himiko from tripping, likely using a quirk. Orientation, he questions. You're in UA. All the staff here were granted permission to run classes as we see fit. There's no time for pointless ceremonies. Her argument seems to falter. It's likely she just wasn't sure about if that was allowed. Monoma. Nito's head perks up. Yes, you were first in the exam. He comments, throwing the baseball. Throw the ball. The only rule is to stay in the circle. Nito nods, then looks at the brunette girl in front of him. He, accidentally, bumps into her walking to the circle. Sorry, he likely assumed the same as Hitoshi. Some kind of floating related quirk based on the way she used it on Himiko. Hopefully it works on objects. The girl accepts his apology, so he steps in the circle. His quirk activates, but Hitoshi has to squint to see the pads on his fingers. He didn't have those before. He touches the ball with all 5 fingers and throws it. It doesn't fall. It only floats higher. Infinity. His father deadpans, holding up a device with an infinity symbol. Huh, lucky assessment. Nito mumbles. Thank you. The girl looks confused, but seems to catch on. A quirk to copy quirks. We get to use our quirks. Middle schools never let you do that. A pink girls with horns and pink hair beams. Oh god, is she, this will be fun. I think it goes deeper than that. Hitoshi cuts in, trying to stop what's about to happen. It's futile, as everyone is still cheering. You think this is fun? Well shit, if you aren't going to take this seriously you can pack your bags. You signed up for a grueling career, so how's this? Last place gets expelled. He'll totally expel someone. The only person who doesn't look worried aside from him is a tall girl with a ponytail. Nito still looks worried though. He holds his hand reassuringly, noticing the different texture of the finger pads. That's not fair. The brunette chimes in. She seems very strong with her opinions. It's respectable, really. It shows loyalty in some cases. Despite the clear threat, we just got here. Heroism isn't fair, Uraraka. He responds. So that's her name. You'd best prepare. And so the tests go on. Hitoshi isn't doing too bad, having spent a lot of his time trying to get stronger alongside Nito, Izuku and Himiko. Lately, so has Shoto too. The only test he's used his quirk in was the race test. He was against some short kid. Though what grossed him out was the kid worrying about how if he gets expelled, he verbally explained he wouldn't be around, all the hot bods. What on God's green earth is he here for? There was another instance where he overheard him talking to Kaminari. Kaminari simply pointed out to Jiro how he thought Uraraka was cute, and the guy goes over to him and says the most vile things he's heard. An innocent crush is not an invitation to say shit like that. The behavior persists in several forms, and throughout the tests the girls seem more and more disgusted. That shit, Hitoshi ain't no snitch, but he has exceptions for weird tiny assholes. Hitoshi walks over to his father subtly. Hey, the short kid with the weird purple things. He's been harassing basically every female this whole time. He mumbles. His father nods, taking it into account. He'll do something about it. Hitoshi walks back with the group, and soon, the results are on screen. 16. That's the bottom half. Well, he learns who Minoru Mineta is once there's the purple kid crying, clinging to whom he'd gotten to know as Yaoyorozu's oh god. She immediately punts him, thank for that. He watches as his father explains the ruse, yet expelling him right then and there. He knows damn well he pretended not to notice Kyoka Jiro flipping the crying teen off on his way out. You're all dismissed. Grab your syllabus. His father waves them off, leaving them to do their own thing. Once they're in the locker rooms, the guy he learned as Yoarashi loudly talks to him in the locker room. You did great despite not using your quirk at all, Shinso. He loudly compliments. Oh, it's not useful here. Hitoshi responds. He suppresses a smile. And I used it for the running test. Hitoshi looks at his phone, as his friends ask to meet on Dagoba Beach. It's a good idea, truly, but he does need to let his parents know. He's never denied going out unless his parents need him home to help cook, to do whatever chore. As of now though, his list is clear. He could easily let them know normally, but his father is in the living room having a meeting. Then again, maybe his dad will let him know where he is. There's never an interrogation, it's just a, where are you going? Or, with whom? Valid questions of course. Hitoshi works up the courage to leave his room with a guest over. He heads straight down the hallway to his parents' room. His dad should be here, so he knocks on the door. Doors open. His dad announces. Hitoshi steps in to see his dad organizing his records. Hey, kid, you alright? Why is the first assumption when he walks in is that he isn't alright? Yeah, my friends wanted to meet at a beach. Probably to talk about UA. Hitoshi explains. This late at night, he asks as he puts down a record. Who's going to be there? Izuku, Himiko and 2 of their friends. I've met them. They're cool. Hitoshi responds. He can't say Tuya and Shoto without raising questions. Alright then. Just be back before 9. It's a school night too. He starts. I'll let your father know. Take your phone too. Thanks, Dad. Hitoshi responds, internally cheering ever so slightly. Now to get through the front door. Hitoshi walks into the living room after grabbing his phone and jacket. 2 sets of eyes follow him. The man he's talking with looks around in his 40s, but he's bony to say the least. Skeletal even. He has blue eyes with black sclera and yellow hair. Heading somewhere, his father asks. It's a bit late. Izuku and Himiko wanted to talk. About Ua. Dad said I could go and that he'd let you know. Hitoshi explains. And what time do you plan to be back around? He questions. We agreed on 9. Hitoshi replies. And not a minute later. Have fun. The man looks perplexed, but he nods in agreement, grateful. Thank you. Hitoshi responds, heading toward the entrance to put on his shoes. As he ties his shoes, he can't help but overhear a bit of the conversation. You just let your son waltz out like that. You should have better control over what he does, not let him walk all over you. The man argues. Hitoshi tightens his grip around the lace in frustration. He isn't a dog, he isn't a cat, he's a human being in a household that gives him freedom with his safety in mind. And you're going to tell me what to do with my son? I give him freedom, but I don't have to explain that to you. That's not what you're here for. His father rebuttals. Thank God for him. Hitoshi hears the sound escalate as he heads out quicker. Soon, he's in the vicinity of the beach. He heads down to where his friends are and waves hello. Your dad's let you go out this late? Chuya asks. Hitoshi shrugs. They seemed pretty wary, but I guess it's because I never asked to go out this late. He replies. He hears a noise behind him as the eyes of his friends widen. What the hell are you doing, Yagi? Shit, that's his father. He's with the vigilantes. Before he knows it, he turns around and sees his father and All Might staring back at them. His father looks perplexed to see who he's with. They're not wearing their masks and he recognizes them. Apparently All Might does too. Not a second later, Shoto and Tuya are knocked cold. What the hell are you doing? They didn't do anything, Hitoshi yells, his own quirk in mind. Hitoshi doesn't even wait to shut that blonde son of a bitch up. He knocked the two unconscious. They weren't armed or posing a threat. They were talking to Hitoshi like old friends. They are people. They didn't do shit. He had no way of being sure they were the vigilantes. Hitoshi heads to the unconscious too. Izuku, Himiko, get Tuya, all get Shoto, he orders, desperation clear in his tone. Hitoshi, stop, his father says. He almost forgot he was there. Reality sets in. You're all getting into trouble if this keeps up, and so am I for letting it slide. I will die before letting my son live a life on the run. They're all doomed. He can't let them get arrested though. Though in a foggy state of mind, All Might has no concept of time. And unless used to the sensation of his quirk, they could make a plan and it'd feel like a dream he couldn't remember. Hitoshi, it's fine, Himiko says, crouching by the brothers. Unleash your quirk. We at least need to get these two away. Just say you accidentally activated your quirk. Izuku adds, we'll be fine. And then explain how I, with my capture scarf, let two vigilantes get away with their comrades. His father asks, you never use your quirks. I've seen what you do. Because the law was written terribly, we can work something out with Nezu. I'll call him, but I will not be explaining to your dad, he faces Hitoshi. How you got arrested hanging out with your friends at the beach. I'll call Nezu. I can't guarantee you won't get in trouble, but I can guarantee that I will fight with my life to make sure none of you get jail time. Got it. His tone is firm but Hitoshi notices the fear in his voice. His head is starting to hurt, but he can't tell if it's his quirk or the amount of things going through his mind. Hitoshi, Izuku and Himiko wait by the two as his father calls who he explained to be Nezu. The second he hands up, there's a look pointed at Hitoshi. Izuku and Himiko are soon wrapped in the capture scarf. Release your quirk, he orders. You just. Hitoshi starts, only for Izuku to be heard. We get it, you're trying to help us, but you're dooming yourself. Just listen to him, he's trying to help you. Izuku yells. He sounds afraid too. They all look scared. They're clearly terrified. He feels the release of his quirk, but not by his own means. He sees the capture scarf wrapping around himself as he looks to his dad who has his quirk in use. Not once has Hitoshi used his quirk out of turn. Not once has it been disabled due to his reluctance to do so himself. It is terrifying to see the disappointment in his father's eyes of that being the case. Call the cops for transportation. He demands. All Might seems happy to do so. I'm going to help you out of this. Trust me. What words can reassure the three scared kids wondering how their future will play out as a trusted person is forced to use shitty cards for their own sake? Everything feels blurry as he watches his friends give up their knives and take their friends too. As he is taken into a police van alongside his friends, now in handcuffs. As his father shows his hero license to be put in the back to stay with the kids. As Tuya and Shoto wake up, Hitoshi watches the two immediately become aware, and clearly not happy. Where the air we? Tuya snaps. So we got arrested. Izuku explains, almost comically as he looks to the side with a blank expression. Asani. His father scolds. You know my name now. Use it for all I care. Izuku responds. Hitoshi knows fully well how much he hates being unarmed. Considering past experiences before even becoming a vigilante, he needs as much a defense as he can get. Are we going to jail? Shoto asks, eyes slightly wide. You're certainly not going to prison. And we're figuring this out. He replies. They'll have you in a holding cell. I don't know for how long, but Nezu is on the case. Luckily for you guys, you had the insight to not use quirks. Why's your kid in handcuffs then? Chuya snaps, glaring. Do you think I intended for this to happen? I'm trying to make sure none of your lives are ruined, because clearly the vigilantes I haven't arrested are children for the most part. I've been keeping in touch with Nezu to put together a case for you guys, so please don't make this any harder than it needs to be. Why are you helping us then? Hitoshi, sure, but aren't we, criminals? Himiko asks. Do you even know how I met Asa Izuku? He responds. How he met Izuku? How did he meet him? Eraser, can we not? Izuku looks up. No one adds to that as the rest of the car ride is quiet. Soon, Hitoshi is looking back at his father behind bars. This is the one time of quiet with this lot, but it's not peace and quiet. They all seem to have their typical negative emotion front. Yet all have at least a hint of anger. Hitoshi fiddles with his now free hands. Soon, a guard walks in, followed by All Might. That asshole, he escalated a situation where no one got hurt. He didn't even give a chance to surrender. My boy, you're lucky I don't want to press charges on my student. What? He finds himself being escorted out the cell, looking back at his friends. Izuku nods to him in reassurance. What about them? Hitoshi asks, gesturing to the group. He's never asked so many questions. Not since his quirk manifested. He wouldn't dare. Once he's out, he's immediately ignored. He takes a step closer to the cell. Stay back, the officer tells him. Hitoshi feels his own eye twitch. What if I don't? It's reckless to use his quirk. Truly. But he isn't thinking straight. He gets tugged back by the ever-so-familiar capture scarf. Hitoshi, you won't solve your problems by acting rash. It'll make things worse. We'll deal with it, but try to keep things legal. Please. Hitoshi feels sick. He can't do anything about his friends behind bars. Even with the clear anger they display, they look sad. Chuya has an arm around Shoto where they're sitting. Izuku and Himiko have linked arms. Himiko stares at the floor while Izuku glares at All Might with hatred. It seems deeper than their current situation. How long are they here for? His father asks. We have orders to wait for Tsukauchi and Nezu to show up, then they're left to those two. The officer responds. Tsukauchi and his parents occasionally have cases together. Does Dad know? Hitoshi asks, standing next to his father. He should be here any minute. His father answers. True to his word, his dad bursts through the door. He knows from Izuku that they meet him sometimes. He looks worried as hell. Kid, he shouts, rushing over as if not being there as time will result in death. What on God's green earth happened? Why am I hearing that you used excessive force in a situation where no one was getting hurt? Clearly that's directed to All Might. We don't know their quirks. We had to be careful. Ass Might over here spouts. I don't know who he is. You knocked out a teenage boy and seemingly his older brother with no chance to even surrender. His father rebuttals. Well, your son who you led across the city went to hang out with vigilantes. One of which is a lying scoundrel. He's 15 years old, and he referred to them by their first names. One if which, All Might knows one of them. He looks to where they are, as all of them suspiciously stare at one another. Besides Izuku, for S sake, if he scammed the number one hero, he can't even tell whether he should laugh or scold him. Though Hitoshi, why were you talking to them? His dad asks, landing all eyes on him. Hitoshi goes dead silent. We knew him in foster care, before any of this happened. Plus, the others Dabi, Nexus, they weren't vigilantes by the time that they met Hitoshi. He had nothing to do with us being vigilantes. Plus, we had middle school together. Izuku sputters. And for all you know, he didn't know we were the vigilantes. Himiko adds. His parents so clearly know they're covering for him. They don't deny it even though it's so clear he knows damn well who they are. We didn't tell him. Chuya lies. The lie passed as everyone knowing went along and those oblivious dropped it. Chapter text. Izuku Midoriya's glare does not waver as he stares at All Might from behind bars. This asshole. Just a petty bitch. He feels no remorse for his previous scam, truly. Well, he did until now. It was an act of pettiness, but that's because all he proved to be was a piece of shit. If Izuku had wanted to be a hero, that meant this guy crushed his dreams. Which isn't necessarily what he's mad about. He asked a question, and it got answered. No, he's mad that this guy suggested the idea that Izuku can only be a hero with his help. He's mad about medical negligence when he fought a villain made of sludge. He's mad that he almost let Kacchan die. He's mad his form of training was a disease-filled beach. He's mad that he gave no information on One for All. He's mad he was expected to be a mini-might. He's mad about the non-consensual photos. He's absolutely infuriated that this guy knocked out 2 people who didn't start a fight. He knocked out his friends. His roommates. His Ing family. Yeah, they're criminals. Arresting them isn't the problem. Deep down Izuku knows that. But this is too Ing far. I can keep watch until Nezu gets here. Eraser suggests. You can leave. Thankfully, All Might and the cop leave the room. Izuku finally blinks, realizing he hadn't before once they're out of sight. Oh my god, Mike exasperates. You knew they were vigilantes, didn't you kid? Hitoshi looks up at him slightly and reluctantly nods. Well, don't tell him that. Chuya complains. Our lie was phrased so no one got charged with threatening or anything. It was. Himiko asks. Oh, I was just saying shit. Izuku slightly elbows her with the already linked arm, slightly amused. Let's be less careless when we're already behind bars. Izuku prompts. Despite being behind bars like he says, they're being really calm. He guesses it's the fact Ass Might is gone. I didn't get it either. Shoto says, almost pouting. Izuku rolls his eyes. All's well that ends well, alright. I get that you were buddies in foster care. Mike reassures. Izuku raises an eyebrow. Ends well. Guess they might make us roommates in Tartarus then. Izuku quips. You're not going to Tartarus, Asani. Eraser scolds. It's so unbelievable Izuku can laugh. Not going to Tartarus. They made names for themselves, and the commission isn't very fond. Just call me Izuku at this point. I'm busted. Izuku replies. That's Izuku, Mike asks. Then that's your friend Himiko. Hitoshi nods. Yeah, the name Jinx is pretty stupid anyway. Just call me Himiko, she adds. Right, do any of you have any affiliations with All Might? He called someone a scoundrel. Eraser questions. I used him for a free gym membership. Izuku responds. That was awesome. You what? He responds. For how long? That was who was training you. Himiko sputters, fangs clear as day with her dropped jaw. Clear as day outside the cell. Oh my god Izuku, that's honestly hilarious but, Chuya laughs. Izuku, for the love of whoever the is up there. Why on earth would you do that? Hitoshi asks. Izuku shrugs. I don't reveal all my secrets. He replies. Secrets my ass, you're in a holding cell. Hitoshi scolds, crossing his arms. Weren't you? Shoto snarks. Enough with the banter. Did anyone else piss off the #1 hero? Eraser lectures, looking at the other 3. My old man has something with him. It's not reciprocated though. Shoto responds. He had me so I could be a hero to surpass him, but I ran away. What delusional man thinks he can do that? Raise a kid as some weapon. Shota has clear bitterness in his voice. He so clearly doesn't condone abuse of any kind. That's one of the few reasons Izuku has faith in him. He actually does something when he sees abuse. Endeavor. Shoto's response sounds a lot more painful than the last. His eyes are wide and he looks paralyzed. He's going to find us. He's going to. Shoto was always the quiet, level-headed one. He can be snarky but he's never outright loud. Chuya holds him tighter, likely an attempt at grounding him. He seems close to a panic attack even. The two have had their fair share of them, even Himiko has. They always had ways of dealing with it. Right now though, the situation feels hopeless. He looks to Eraser who shows clear surprise. You're Shoto and Chuya Todoroki. Things clearly got way more complicated. Todor Nexus, you aren't going back. Nezu is on the case, remember. He has a higher intellect than any human without an enhancement quirk. Does that matter? The cops will tell him once they look for identities. Then I'll get sent back. And then what? After this stupid ink stunt I'm screwed, Eraserhead. It'll be worse than it was before. Okay. Things got more serious. Not to mention the attempted murder with Tuya. Izuku will die before he lets Endeavor finish the job. Eraser. Our parents had a quirk marriage. I was the first failure. At least he won't want me back. But Shoto has the so-called ideal quirk. Not that I'll let him take him, but Shoto's declared missing. Hell, I can hide behind me being dead to the world. Chuya explains. He notices the hint of fear, yet he's putting on a front to appeal as brave. Probably for Shoto. He knows Chuya would never let Endeavor take him as some tool. Neither would he or Himiko. Neither would Eraser or Mike even. Shoto's not saying anything though, but for once it worries all present. That's not going to happen. Nezu is on the case, Shota told you. And who knows, maybe we can gather evidence for what he did. Mike suggests. Even so we are still pretty doomed. Himiko adds. She never sounds this solemn. Or serious. I mean, if we don't get sent to jail, we'll be sent back to foster. Oh hell. Abort the goddamned mission, because Izuku rather kill himself. We won't make it unscathed at all. Not even to adulthood. He notices the few tears that are shed. And it's for situations that are very possible. Come to think of it, Shoto's been tearing up too. When's the last time he saw either of them cry? The system doesn't care enough to keep people like us alive, and you know it. She yanks her arm back and crosses her arms. Izuku moves a bit to at least give her space. He knows what people like us means though. Those with shitty quirks. People with villainous quirks. People with mutant quirks. People with weak quirks. People with no quirks. He can't speak. He can't even open his mouth. He can't say anything to anyone in this room and he feels pathetic. They're all hurt. He can't do a thing about it. You aren't going back, any of you. Himiko, Izuku, you aren't going to foster. Nexus, Dabi, you aren't going to Endeavor. Hell, I'll adopt you myself if that's what it takes. All eyes are on Eraser, but no one can utter a word. At least he's not the only one. The silence persists until there's the sound of an opening door. The ever-so-short principal of UA walks in. In any other case, he'd be fawning over the rare case of an animal that has a quirk. How impressive his success in running a school is and how cool an intelligence quirk is that clearly got him this far. Further with his own determination. He doesn't. He watches as Nezu hands a key to Mike, a smile on his face. I can't reach, so you'll have to open the cell yourself. Anyway, I apologize for how long that took. You can all follow me. Nezu announces, excitement in his tone. Izuku stands up and so do the others. They seem slightly less miserable, so that's something. They wait for Mike to open the cell as they all walk in a line sort of formation, Chuya in the front. They all make it to a room with a familiar detective in it. Thank God for that because Izuku stands strongly with the phrase, ACAB. It's Detective Naomasa Tsukauchi. He's famous for his quirk in several cases related to All Might. For some reason he's helping them though. Hello. Sorry for how long this all took, it is pretty late. But we took over the case. Tsukauchi explains. It makes sense that'd take a while. Eraser responds, shrugging. Yamada, Aizawa, I feel like I only see you two during depressing times. Maybe we should grab coffee sometime. He offers. Oh, he's Mike's and Eraser's friend. Thank God. In case you didn't know, I'm Naomasa Tsukauchi. I take it you're the vigilantes Aizawa has been speaking of. He offers. They all nod, still weary. All right, Nezu and I worked out a plan we had the commission agree on for now. This stuff usually takes a while, but thanks to Nezu's status, we got it covered really quickly. Yep, we worked out a deal with the commission. You three have the option to be enrolled into UA. Nezu beams, facing Izuku, Shoto and Himiko. Shota, did you already expel enough people for there to be room in your class? 'Cause I know for a fact Vlad didn't do that. Mike asks, facing Eraser. I only expelled 2 of them. Yoarashi had to move, family emergency. he says. Anyway, Nezu starts. We did have to work out a few terms. And don't worry, Todoroki. He faces Chuya. Chuya Dabi is fine. He clearly hates being called by the last name he shares with his almost murderer. Alright, Chuya, we have something to work out with you, so you're off the hook from jail time. However, the terms, you can't leave your house or UA without an escort, you can't use your quirks unpermitted. Oh right, house. Aizawa and Yamada agreed to take you in for now. Isn't that wonderful? I believe you'll be assets. I've seen your work. Your cases against heroes are fascinating. Who knows? Midoriya, I wonder if you can help me work on the case against Endeavor. God, you have Nezu seeking you out to help him. That's actually terrifying. Mike exasperates, almost laughing. So, do you four agree to these terms? Tsukauchi asks. They nod. Verbal responses, please. Oh right, his polygraph quirk. They all verbally respond in agreement, and are met with clear satisfaction. We have permission to let you all go then. Just keep them in sight till you get home. Oh, and Tsukauchi can escort 2 of you. I know your car won't fit you all. Nezu offers. Nexus, Dabi, are you alright going with Tsukauchi? You can tell him a bit about Endeavor so we can get you out of his legal custody. Mike asks. I guess. And Shoto is fine. Shoto responds. It makes things less complicated when there's 2 of us. 2 Todorokis. Izuku knows full well he just hates being called that. Alright then. You can follow me, Tsukauchi suggests, leading the 2 outside. Alright. Himiko, Izuku, don't do anything stupid. We'll see you, Chuya says, putting a hand on Shoto's shoulder as he leads him to follow. Shoto slightly waves. Thank you, Nezu. I owe you, really. Shota thanks. No issue here. You know I'll have fun tearing apart the Commission and Endeavor's lawyers if they get in the way. That is actually scary, but holy shit. Principals get to do that shit. Sign Izuku up. Oh, wait. Reality is sinking in. 1. He hasn't been set on heroism since he was a kid ready to be Kachan's sidekick. Izuku thinks further as he subconsciously follows everyone to the car. Him, a hero, a quirkless hero. He could almost laugh. It feels pathetic. He knows he's capable, but others clearly don't. And isn't Kachan in their class? Oh shit. He's sitting in the middle seat between Himiko and Hitoshi, as they had argued he is smaller than the both of them. Ua might not be bad. Himiko suggests, facing Izuku. He doesn't speak. We get to share a school with Mei, Hitoshi and Nito again. That actually sounds nice. Didn't you say Kachan is in your class? Izuku asks, facing Hitoshi. He is a bit aggressive. But you don't have to immediately reconcile. I saw him almost blow up this weird pervert. Hell, he probably would have if not for father. Hitoshi responds. He might not be the worst. At least he has some morals. He does seem competitive though. He always was. Izuku responds. Just how many of my students do you know? Eraser asks. It's fine, Eraser. I haven't seen him for 10 years. Izuku brushes off. Shota works. He offers. And you're going to be living with us, huh? You can call me Hazashi. The driver, who he previously called Mike, adds. Alright then. Izuku shrugs. They eventually make it to a house. Tsukauchi leaves right after dropping off Shoto and Tuya, but he is a busy man. Izuku walks into the relatively large living room. He and the others are told to wait on the couch, Hitoshi sitting with them. Soon, an air bed is set up, Chuya and Shoto told to share it as himself and Himiko would take the couches due to being the shortest. They're all given blankets and pillows as Shota and Hazashi head off to talk about things. Hitoshi is sent to his room after his parents clarify he's up for school. The second day of UA is pretty important. They're all told they start Thursday, so Izuku tries to get rest once everyone is settled where they sleep. He can't even keep his eyes closed. Hey, guys, you think this will end well? Izuku asks. We'll figure it out, Izuku. Aight, go to sleep, Chuya responds. Izuku stares at the ceiling, mind foggy with all the things he has to be anxious over. Chapter text. Chuya is sitting up on his now shared air mattress as he watches Shinso in his school uniform chug a mug of coffee. Shinso, you're going to spill all of it. You just got that uniform. And it's white too. Chuya snarks, seeing him slam down the mug. I'm not clumsy, Hitoshi responds, before washing his mug and picking up the tie off the counter. I wonder how that went with Hatsume. Chuya comments, noting her typical need to handle any discomfort with her equipment. She does prioritize all areas, resulting in her major success. She hates the uniforms, Hitoshi replies. And Monoma, Chuya quips, raising an eyebrow. That kid is fashion over comfort. Always. He was mostly spite over comfort when he was younger, getting into gothic fashion to piss off his dad. Not that he didn't like it, but that was his main reason. Shoto is talking after that too. Though it's less him using a fashion sense he likes to piss Enji off and more of a fashion sense he's familiar with considering his brother. Hitoshi has a pretty decent fashion sense though, yet it's not entirely uncomfortable. Better than Chuya when he was 16 walking around with his own legs wanting him dead since he only had the boots from when he died. Nito ended up wearing these fancy frilly gloves and high boots to fix it. Then he added fabric to the sleeves to make them more. For whatever reason, Hitoshi smiles fondly at seemingly the image. Of course he did. Better than your father over there just wearing the same identical outfit. Chuya laughs. He just always wears his hero costume. And I'm also right here. Chuya immediately turns around, practically giving himself whiplash to see Shota in all his glory. Shinso started it, Chuya immediately says, Shinso rolling his eyes. You're the adult here, and you wouldn't do that with your siblings. Shinso complains, tie now fixed. Well, your dad is comical violent, my dad is I'm going to kill you if you aren't good enough violent. Chuya shrugs, or maybe that was over me coming out. I don't know, or care for that matter. It ain't my fault he's pissy all his kids are queer. Right, depressing turns. Great, Shinso responds, leaning against the wall. Hey, I'm not the one with the trauma dump when I asked how you got adopted. Chuya argues. And I'm not the one who asked. Shinso laughs, heading to his own room. He told you that, Shota asks, pouring his own mug of coffee. Yeah, pretty recently actually. I'm pretty sure he's the first to tell me about getting adopted or orphaned. Then Himiko. He doesn't add Monoma too. And I'm sure Monoma is completely unrelated to her. Both having the same eye colors while being heterochromic, hair color and height. And birthdays might I add. They gave me all of your files. Oh, well that ain't on him. Well, Chuya could almost laugh. Shota pours another mug and hands it to him. Without even realizing it he smells it to make sure there's nothing else in it. Your file also said you died at 13. How'd you get by all this time? He asks. Chuya can only think of how to avoid that very question. He isn't exactly proud. Hard work. I was in a coma 3 of those years from the burns anyway. Chuya responds, hoping that'll pass. Burns from your quirk or your father? Shota questions. At least it's not the last one. Chuya isn't too ecstatic to reveal, or even think about those years. My father. Well, I guess he doesn't deserve that title. Chuya explains. There is silence for a bit, but soon Hizashi walks in, leading Shinso who now has his backpack over his shoulder. His hair also looks slightly less like hell. Hey Shota. Morning, Chuya. We have to head off, but we'll see you after. Hizashi announces. That is too energetic too early. You're able to leave us here alone. We just got arrested, Chuya comments. That's what Izuku asked too. You guys are observant. But yeah, we have a security system set in place. We already did since we are 2 heroes with a kid. Hizashi explains with a lot of gesturing. Izuku, how are the kids doing? Yeah, see you. Chuya replies, quieter thanks usual with that in mind. Nezu will need to talk with you tomorrow. Luckily I have a friend willing to escort 2 of you while we get a bigger car. Shota says. They soon leave. Thinking about it further, he realizes that he never told his siblings, yes that includes the brats Izuku and Himiko, nor his mother how he got by. Back then he told himself he was doing what he had to, but it feels shameful now standing by people who, despite their situation, are actively helping people and exposing heroes. Maybe his actions from 16 to 19 weren't excusable. Maybe he was just trying to be an embarrassment to his father. Logically, a homeless teenager could be taken advantage of. It wasn't just him being an idiot, he had just woken up from a 3-year-long coma where him almost being murdered was covered up. But in his own mind, he can only think of how he wasn't 12, he was 16. It's not a logical thought, but it's surely an invading one. With that though, he doesn't really want to think about it. He can worry about the kids right now. Chuya chugs the rest of his coffee, trying to be at least less like he left his grave. To be fair, he should be dead by now. Chuya walks back into the living room. All the kids are in their own areas. He goes to his younger brother first. Shoto is sitting on the air mattress, staring at the wall. He's probably used to boredom considering that's all too familiar to the way he was told that Shoto spent his days living with Enji. Chuya sits next to him. "Hey, Shoto," Chuya greets. "Morning." Shoto responds, devoid of any emotion into his words. Yeah, this is actually normal behavior for him. "How are you feeling about whatever you call this shit?" Chuya adds a bit of humor in hopes of a bit more of a response. Shoto simply shrugs. "Well, you don't have to feel happy over it. It is your first foster home. And hopefully your last. I guess." Shoto mumbles. He notices Shoto's right arm freezing. That's a typical nervous habit all his siblings have in common. They accidentally freeze their own skin whenever feeling sad, scared or even resentful. Pure anger for Shoto usually results in fire. The louder kind. The more cold kind of anger, ice. Hell, even when surprised he's used his fire. Chuya isn't like that much, but occasionally when really mad he will accidentally set his own arms on fire. Chuya sets a hand on his arm, melting the ice. It quickly evaporates, but he isn't using enough firepower to burn either of the two. "You want me to ask them if we can see Mom, so we can tell her about this?" Chuya questions, retracting the hand. Shoto quietly nods. "I will when they're back from school. And hey, it'll work out. I'll try to get a job, we can get a house. We'll make it work. You won't have to worry about seeing Enji until his funeral. I'll get him to back off no matter what. Aight. Yeah, alright." Shoto mumbles. "You don't fully believe me, huh?" He hasn't exactly been using the most passionate tone. A lot of it can be viewed sarcastically. Not that Shoto is even good with sarcasm at all. Being a hero doesn't mean you're forced to associate. Do you still want to be one? That actually gets Shoto to laugh a bit. "There was no joke though. You sound like Mom. She asked that when we lived with her. Mom phrased it differently though. I think. Well, that's something. Try to entertain yourself." Chuya gets up, ruffling his hair. Shoto immediately fixes it, sectioning the strands. His roots are growing too. Chuya looks at his phone's camera. His are too. He next heads over to Himiko, who's hanging upside down off the couch armrest. "Hey, Himiko," Chuya greets, watching as she gets up from dangling her head off the couch. "Hey, Chuya." She's smiling but there's a lot less enthusiasm in her tone than normal. "You good? Still alive in there? 'Cause I could have sworn the dangling teenager I saw was very corpse looking." He comments. She rolls her eyes. "I'm fine, just haven't been somewhere like this a while. Shota and Hizashi are cool, but it feels close to foster, you know." She isn't secretive, she just doesn't like answering questions of those she doesn't like. "I mean, it's nice they're taking care of us, but I guess it is foster." "Your foster parents were assholes. Them foster parents though," Chuya says. "You want to talk about what they were like though? I bet I can debunk a bunch of those things being possibilities. Hey, I'm skilled in combat. I can handle it even if that did happen." Ignoring her own possibilities of being upset over the matter. He knows she won't admit it but people who've offended her do upset her. They don't make her sad though. Just angry. But I guess it was bad. She isn't going to be secretive to anyone so long as she knows they'll respect she is saying this because she knows it's her choice to do so. If they saw me even look at a knife they'd assume I'd stab someone and use my quirk. There, precautions. weren't fun. No one really talked to us though, not that I needed them to. But Izuku and Hitoshi were friends and they talked to us. Whenever Hitoshi could at least, he wasn't always able to talk. Now that I think about it, maybe once or twice, they did the same with Izuku cause of his mum. Himiko, I think that's their personal shit. Chuya cuts her off. To be fair, that's not her story to share. She isn't being malicious about it, but that doesn't make it any less true. Right, Himiko responds. Anyway, we got along so we ran away. That felt great. Hitoshi and Nito are happy with their adoptions. But I felt free at least. It was bad, but still better. Then how is it here? Chuya questions. I guess it's not so bad. Hizashi gave me cereal earlier. Himiko shrugs. I'm going to ask for my knives when they get back. You do that, Chuya responds. After bidding farewell only to walk a few feet away, he heads to Izuku. He's biting his fingernails and staring at the floor. Hey Izuku, he greets. Izuku looks up at him, giving a slight wave. You good? Yeah, I'm fine. Izuku lies. Right, Izuku is the biggest liar here. For being the team leader, he surely can't be honest. For once he's not good at it. How do you feel about UA? Chuya questions. I don't know if I'll pass my classes, that's one thing. Izuku responds. Kid, you're a student, not even the biased teachers can fail. Chuya deadpans. It's not just that, it's also hero students knowing I am, or at least was a vigilante. A quirkless one at that. It doesn't exactly give me popularity. That's actually a good point. How are you then? Me. The question caught him off guard, making him sound like an idiot. Izuku doesn't falter and double down though, Chuya shrugs. I don't really know what they'll do with me. Obviously a whole-ass adult won't sit in a classroom and learn hero curriculum. They might help you job hunt depending how much they care. Who knows, maybe even college. Izuku suggests. I ain't got the mind for college. I didn't even finish middle school. Chuya exclaims. He notices the disappointment with Izuku's faulty suggestions. His mind is probably foggy from everything going on. Do you trust Shota and Hizashi? More than most. That's actually a huge thing then. Izuku isn't the most trusting. He's not naive. Quite the contrary. It's like he feels the need to be good enough so he can make sure he can trust someone won't leave, even if he knows they care about him. His mom did abandon him though, not that he got many details. You got a good intuition. It should be fine, Chuya instead says. Tell that to yourself. Izuku mumbles. What is that supposed to mean? That sounds rude, huh? Izuku asks. Chuya immediately nods, keeping his patience. With all his bluntness and everything, doesn't take a genius to notice his autism symptoms. Are Himiko's, are Shoto's. Not that they could have been diagnosed, but it's still pretty apparent. He never mentioned anything about it, but it does help remind him they aren't trying to be rude, they're just a bit blunt. I meant the fact I saw you talking to Himiko and Shoto. You're asking about how we're all feeling, but you never seem to worry about yourself. That's invasive, isn't it? Hey, it's fine. Chuya never realized that's something he did, but Izuku has a point. The prolonged response will probably cause him to worry more. It comes with being an older brother, I guess. You do that too. What's your excuse? Pretty sure you have that trait too considering we even met. Are you meeting Shoto and taking him in with you? Being a not even self-appointed group leader. Still don't get why you guys voted me. Izuku mumbles. Or maybe it's being an only child. Only children can usually be snobby attention whores. Try again. Chuya jokes. But he knows Izuku didn't even get the attention he could have as a kid. He can't help but resent whoever, Inko, is for that. Not that either of them know why she did what she did. Chapter text. Hitoshi Shinso knows damn well it looks as if he hasn't slept for years. He was up pretty late on both sides of a jail cell to be fair. Then when he was finally able to get home, he couldn't sleep from the aftershock of what had happened. Now he's worried about Izuku, Himiko and Shoto after what happened, then what will happen to Chuya. Then he can worry about the fact he knows damn well his dads are disappointed about him associating with vigilantes for years without telling him. Hitoshi puts his head on the lunch table, his own tray aside because he seriously cannot eat right now. He can practically feel the eyes of Mei and Nito burning through his skull. Hitoshi, you look like you haven't slept since birth. And you aren't eating. Nito comments, a hand on his shoulder. Something is wrong. Want to tell us? Yeah, your eye bags are somehow darker. Mei points out. Hitoshi lifts his head. I wanted to tell you yesterday, however I was kind of behind bars. Then having a crisis. Behind bars. Nito practically yells. Hitoshi puts a hand over his mouth, reminding him of those around the three. He doesn't want his hero course classmates knowing he got arrested, kind of. He removes his hand after Nito bites it. Weren't you at the beach with the others? Funny story. Hitoshi deadpans. And don't bite me, you have fangs and you are eating. That is unsanitary. Nito seems less concerned about dental hygiene for once, and more about his twin, best friend, and other two friends. They're fine. Though they did get arrested, they're out now. I can't share too much, but they'll be fine. You'll find out soon enough. All four of them? Mei asks. Hitoshi nods. Where are they staying now then? Nito asks, clearly worried. My parents took them in. I think Shoto, Izuku and Himiko are under my parents' custody. They're acting as foster parents for now. Hitoshi responds. Did you even sleep? Mei asks, poking his face repeatedly. No, he responds, swatting her hand. Again, I was in the holding cell after brainwashing who arrested them. You illegally used your quirk. You never used that outside of training. Nito sputters. That's it. I'm killing them. Who arrested them? Mei stands up. Calm down, Mei, and I'll tell you later. Hitoshi sighs. It's a bit, confidential. Nito brings her back down to her seat. Apparently the commotion doesn't go unnoticed, as the brown-haired girl Uraraka heads over. Are you guys all right? Uraraka asks. She doesn't seem to have brought lunch. We're fine. Mei and Hitoshi yell, in sync. I feel like you should have at least texted that my sister is behind bars. Nito mumbles. Was behind bars. And she's fine. I wanted to text you. I told you, but I was a bit distracted with everything. Hitoshi feels bad he didn't. With everything going on though, he can hardly think. All right, I get it. Sorry, I shouldn't have taken my anger out on you. Nito apologizes. Hitoshi nods in acknowledgement. By any chance, is your sister the girl with the blonde buns? You two look alike. Uraraka gestures above her head. Oh, right, she's here. Hitoshi doesn't even have to be brainwashing anyone for his current migraine. Forgive him for being too overwhelmed to take account of all parties. She is. I remember you guys talking at the entrance exam. Nito answers. He can tell Nito and Mei look stressed like hell. He's slowly losing his filter. Uraraka, I appreciate your worry, but this is a private matter. Kind of confidential. He's not too used to concern from separate parties. Though, he knows it'll turn around when their quirks are figured out. Who knows, maybe someone with a mind-reading quirk will find out about Mei's autism diagnosis, then she gets bullied for it. Again. Right, sorry, she actually looks guilty. Shit, she heads off. He'll have to apologize for being upfront. Look, Nito, if they were in immediate danger I wouldn't even be here. Though I can tell you when we aren't in public. Nito looks a bit upset. Maybe it's the guilt he displayed earlier, or maybe he's angry again. If something bad happened to them and you didn't tell me, I would be upset. Though I guess I've been inconsiderate to you. You're probably worried enough as it is. Nito says, genuine. It might be good news. I wouldn't lie to you. Hitoshi says, in hopes of reassuring him. He sets his hand on the one that was just on his shoulder, which is now on the cafeteria table. I trust you then. Nito finally agrees, looking up at him. Hitoshi finally feels slightly relieved after yesterday's events. He takes out his phone with his free hand, texting Nito. He shows Nito the phone, facing the screen to him. Nito takes it with his free hand and passes the phone to Mei, who's the last to hand it. Hitoshi pockets it. He arrested them. Nito practically screams. Oh my god, Hitoshi. And you guys say I'm reckless. Mei adds. Oops. Hitoshi deadpans. My god, Hitoshi. Nito laughs. So it's the laughing stage of trauma. Woohoo. Not that it's not refreshing to be able to laugh about it with the two. Still kicking his ass. Mei jokes. Hell no you aren't. You aren't throwing hands with him. Hitoshi rolls his eyes at her threat. She's strong, but he's the #1 hero. I should apologize to Uraraka for setting a boundary. Nito asks. Hey, I ain't Izuku who will apologize for everything, but my judgment was a bit clouded when I responded. Hitoshi clarifies. He stands up, abandoning his own lunch tray. He walks over to the table of Ochako Uraraka, who's alone. He waves in hello. To be fair, with the off chance she already figured out his quirk, she does not think he's trying to brainwash her. Hey, Shinso. Sorry if I got nosy there. I just wanted to make sure you guys are alright. She apologizes. Yeah, about that, I think that came off a bit abrupt. Sorry about that, I'm not mad or anything, just worried. Not that it's an excuse to be rude or anything, but still. He responds, straight posture for once. Oh, yeah, no, I get that, totally. Anyway, I didn't see you in the exams, or your friend, Monoma, was it? Did he copy my quirk in the tests? That was really confusing, but cool when I found out. Is she joking? His quirk is pretty cool. He doesn't plan on telling anyone though, but some people seem to have figured it out. Did you guys go to middle school together with the pink-haired girl? She questions. Yeah, that's Mei Hatsume. She's in support, but I knew him before middle school. That's when we met her. He answers. It's a bit odd. Lately people at this school have been nice. Too nice. He'll wait till they figure out his quirk. The second time he used it here is the hero lesson in class where he and Asui fought in teams against Kaminari and Jiro. They won of course. It's the day after Nito Monoma received a rundown of the events where his friends got arrested by All Might. He heads to his desk in the morning, not stopping to talk to anyone due to the fact he was almost late as it is. Usually Hitoshi makes sure he and Mei get to school on time, but for some odd reason his parents gave him a ride. They never do that since Hitoshi always asks to walk. He notices 2 more empty desks other than what was previously Minetta's. That guy anyway. Mr. Aizawa walks into the classroom, noting that everyone is at their desk on time. Nito has to admit, his class has quick learners. Good morning. In case you're wondering about them, he gestures to the empty desks. One got expelled, but he transferred to Shiketsu. Aren't those the desks of Yoarashi and Hagakure? However, for the first time since I started teaching here, the 3 classmates who are gone are getting replaced by people other than Gen Ed students. Hold on. Izuku, Himiko, Shoto, all in their first year of high school. You're kidding. But he ain't complaining. Those spots will be filled by vigilantes. There is silently murmuring over the confusion of this. However, they had never actually used their quirks doing so, therefore they are deemed to have high enough potential to give them another shot. Iida raises his hand, and Mr. Aizawa calls on him. Isn't it a bit irresponsible to allow criminals into the ever so highly secured school? He asks. It would be if we knew nothing about them. Though I've checked their records. And essentially adopted them. They never dealt the first hit. I assure you. You gotta admit, it is a bit worrying. Were they arrested beforehand? Kaminari asks. They didn't exactly turn themselves in. Nor did they resist arrest. Mr. Aizawa explains. They aren't violent. It would be foolish if we allowed people known to be violent criminals in a class of hero students. Rest assured, Kaminari. He nods in response, seeming a little bit reassured. That seems to calm down the questions at least. And what about the 4th? Nito asks. Hitoshi shushes him immediately. How would you know there's a 4th? Oh right, there wasn't an announcement on who. Nito. Hitoshi scolds. Nito awkwardly laughs in response, sounding manic considering the circumstances. Calm down. It's obvious anyway, though you did rat yourself out for knowing they're vigilantes. True, he probably figured he knew them due to the resemblance between himself and Himiko. The vigilantes who will be joining you are Asani, Jinx and Nexus. Don't they sometimes expose heroes for their flaws? Kirishima asks. Mostly the ones who commit crimes on any level. I'm hoping you don't have that to worry about. Aizawa asks. I don't think he could commit a crime. Ashido jokes. I heard a bit about them. They don't seem necessarily bad. Kaminari adds. They actually rescued my brother before. Shiro comments. Oh, Dabi told them a bit about his brother. You guys have your own time to gossip. You can at least let me take attendance and not waste time. The class immediately calms down, soon to proceed with homeroom. Guess it was good news. Plus, now he can stir shit up with them if there are any assholes in the class. Chuya watches, bored as Shota walks into the principal's office. He's in a chair, waiting for Himiko, Izuku and Shoto to get their whole registration done so he can figure out what he's here for. Wonderful. Nezu starts, as the paperwork ends. All I need now are your hero costume submissions and requests. Izuku hands a folder consisting of the ideas, all of them worked out together, including weapons, first aid stuff and practical gear. He knows Izuku had a lot of fun working with them on practicality, but Himiko helped with most of the actual designing. Especially considering Izuku and Shoto have shit fashion senses. Shoto and Himiko can struggle a lot with practicality though. He overheard Shoto asking about covering his burn in ice. That's limiting his already shitty vision. Especially considering he knows damn well when he got burnt, it ed with his eyes. Though he almost laughed when he saw the results of Shoto's. It looked like his own dream outfit from before the incident. Excellent. Nezu continues. Now, you can use your quirks on school grounds but only in case of emergency or in designated training areas. I trust you won't harm anyone outside of sparring or training sessions. The three agree. Splendid. That is all for you three then. So why am I here then? Chuya asks. Well, I have concerns about All Might as a teacher. I'm afraid he can be a bit bigoted. Nezu explains. Maybe he'll need help from someone who isn't so biased. No way. You're kidding. Teaching is Fuyumi's gig. He's awful around teenagers. Or anyone, really. You want me as a teaching assistant? Chuya questions, confusion clear. Why wouldn't I? I hear from Midoriya over here you have pointers to share whenever you do combat training. Izuku innocently waves at him, smiling sadistically. Brat, I'm hoping this job opportunity will be of use to you. It certainly would help us. I'll take it, Chuya decides. He has been wanting to get his mom out of the hospital, and obviously he needs cash. Splendid. Nezu hands him a folder. He flips the pages to see it's the most recent folder of student files. Under it is a computer. You already have an account set up, and on it you'll have websites to keep track of grades, emergency contacts, and more. God damn it, even Fuyumi would make fun of him for this. To be continued. I hope you enjoyed this story. Also remember to subscribe and like this video. See you in the next video.